chance of talking. Keep talking. Call to order the City Council regular meeting of August 19th at 7 p.m. Will the interim clerk please take roll?
Okay, here we go. Councilmember Ganata.
Here.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Here.
Councilmember Parade.
Here.
Councilmember Robbins.
Here.
Pro Tem Mayor Webb.
Here.
Okay.
Let the record show that Andy and Dean have asked to be excused for tonight.
Okay.
Tonight, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by myself, Mayor Pro Tem Webb, and the invocation by Councilman Robbins. Please, everyone rise. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to be here this evening. We ask that you would give us the wisdom and the knowledge to do what's right for the wonderful people of this community. In your Son's precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Announcements.
Yep. Before we get to the awards and presentations, Jeff, do you have any announcements?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. Mike Kettler. Just let residents know, and any golfer really, the city championship in the Fall Classic Tournament is Sunday, September 8th. It's a 27-hole stroke play event. I think the deadline to sign up is that Tuesday before. So the September 3rd, I think, is the deadline. So applications are in the golf shop. Okay, Mr. Todd Dickman, Recreation.
Yep, thank you. Just want to let everyone know that we are into our last 2 weeks of our summer concerts on Wednesday night at 6:30 in Young Patriots Park. This Wednesday night, August 21st, is Kathmandu, which is a Bob Seger tribute band. I know we have a lot of people looking forward to that one, so hopefully you can come out. And then next Wednesday on August 28th, we have Sunset Boulevard, which is playing the Sounds of the 80s. And also just want to say thank you to Jars Cannabis, who was our sponsor for our whole series. And it was we've had a great and going to have a great series this year. We've had over 500 people the last couple of weeks, so hopefully our crowds will still be really nice for that. We also do have a couple of movies in the park schedule coming up here. First one is this Saturday on August 24th. It's going to be the movie Migration, and we're going to get started at approximately 8:15 p.m., and that's going to be in Young Patriots Park. And then on September 7th, we're going to have the movie If, and that's going to be in Lloyd Carr Park, and that's going to get started about approximately 8 p.m. So if anyone wants, bring the families out and enjoy the movies in the park and also the concerts in the park. Plus, any seniors that are looking for rides to get around to doctors, pharmacies, grocery shopping, or anything like that, the Recreation Department has opened up a van service for seniors. So if you do are in need of a ride, please call the Recreation Department to get signed up so we can get you to your needs. Thank you.
That's it, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. I do also have one announcement on behalf of the Riverview Community Neighborhood Watch. Along with our first responders, we'll be hosting the National Night Out at Young Patriots Park from 6 to 9 p.m. tomorrow, which is Tuesday, August 20th. This was our reschedule from Tuesday, August 6th due to inclement weather. For those that you don't know, the National Night Out is an evening of camaraderie between neighbors and our first responders. Each child will receive a gift bag full of fun prizes and toys. We will be giving away 4 security cameras. We'll be serving free Serendipity ice cream, Riverview Pizza Place pizza, chips, and various beverages. Carrie Ann the Clown will be face painting, and there will be 2 giant water slides, a slip and slide, and a bounce house from ZZR Party Rentals. Music by Be Well My Friends. There will be police and fire vehicles, including the Downriver SWAT Team's Bearcat Tactical Vehicle, K-9 Officer Blue, and a visit by the cartoon character Bluey, along with the scavenger hunt with the Riverview Veterans Memorial Library and staff, and much, much more. So we encourage you to come out tomorrow. It's supposed to be a little bit cool, but it'll be sunny and moderate winds. Due to the construction on Sibley Road, we're not quite sure if that'll impact being able to get to Library Drive, so you may want to take a bike or walk if you're within distance. If you're going to be driving, you may want to try coming down Williamsburg into Civic Park Drive to the Fire Station Drive, and the police and fire department will allow you to drive across a gravel road that'll lead you over to the community center where you can park there. So many options, so don't let the traffic detour you. And that's it for announcements. For tonight, there are not any awards or presentations or proclamations. 5, approval of minutes. 5.1, approve the minutes of the August 5th, 2024 regular Riverview City Council meeting and the condensed version for publication by the city clerk. What's the council's wishes?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Councilwoman O'Neill and supported by Councilwoman Ganaga.
Roll call.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilmember Paray.
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins.
Yes.
Pro Tem Mayor Webb.
Yes.
And Councilperson Viner.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Tonight, there is not a public hearing. Now is the time for public comments. Anyone wishing to give their comments to the council, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and keep your comments to 5 minutes, and there will be no sharing of time.
My name is Ken Kyleman. I live at 20243 Coachwood. Mayor Pro Tem Webb, Council, City Manager Dobeck. Last Wednesday, as I often do, I sent an email to you all so that you would be aware as to what I intended to say tonight. I'd like to read portions of that email to remind you of its contents and introduce some of them to the public. It's a little confusing since it refers to an earlier email, but I think you'll be able to follow along. Here it is. Greetings. Back on April 29th of this year, I sent an email to the mayor, council, and city manager that touched on a number of matters. One of those issues was as follows. At the special council meeting held on April 25th, my neighbor and friend, Sally Sutherland, asked if the city was still considering seeking the expansion of the landfill. The answer, quote, "That is a possibility," end quote, which was an honest response by the mayor, was not what she wanted to hear. There's a lingering fear among some that after spending approximately $1,900,000 on the last failed attempt to expand the landfill, the council secretly plans to try it again and spend additional funds that we can't afford. After which I made a suggestion that though it wouldn't eliminate everyone's fears, I believed it would at least give the public a warning if efforts were being made to resurrect the matter. I then wrote that I was shocked to learn that Jeff Kugelman's absence from the recent land preserve meeting was due to the fact that he requested to make a presentation to the Gibraltar City Council to educate them and encourage their support of a potential expansion of the Riverview Land Preserve. At that meeting, Jeff mentioned that 12 downriver communities had already been visited regarding the possible expansion, and it appears that the city is getting its ducks in a row to move forward with another attempt to expand the landfill. Continuing, I wrote, at that April 25th meeting where Sally asked her question, the mayor responded that, quote, "Council has not made a decision," end quote, regarding an expansion. I've attended or watched every meeting since then, and I do not recall council making a decision regarding an expansion or taking steps to facilitate an expansion. I've also made an attempt to attend every land preserve meeting, and though it's clear that some on the committee believe an expansion is necessary, I do not recall any recommendation or direction to pursue it again. I will refrain from making accusations or questioning the motives of those involved. However, I do think that the residents deserve transparency regarding an issue that's so important to us all, and the council needs to speak regarding this matter. I think the residents deserve to know who's behind this effort, who made the decision to visit 12 neighboring communities and ask for their support. Is it the council as a whole or in part, or is it just the landfill staff? If the council is behind it, how could this happen without it being discussed in a public meeting? Or was it a part of a closed session? Additionally, I challenge Mr. Kugelman's assertion made at that Gibraltar meeting that the residents are behind the expansion based on the survey that was conducted. I reject the findings of the survey and consider it fatally flawed for the reasons that I expressed to the mayor in previous correspondence, and I'd be happy to have that discussion with anyone interested. I look forward to hearing from you in public regarding any decisions that have been made, plans that have been or are being developed, and steps that have been or will be taken toward making another attempt to expand the landfill, respectfully. And that was essentially what I wrote. And just to be clear, here are the questions presented in that email that I just read. Who made the decision to visit 12 neighboring communities and ask for their support for a landfill expansion? Was it the council as a whole or in part, or was it just a landfill staff? And if it was the council as a whole, where's the vote recorded? And let me remind you that votes may not be taken in a closed session or decisions made in a closed session. If it was just a part of the council, where is such authority granted to a minority? What other decisions have been made regarding a landfill expansion? By whom, where, when, and how? What plans have been or are being developed? And what steps have been or will be taken toward making another attempt to expand the landfill? It may be said that what has been done since the last failed attempt has cost the city nothing, but I would argue that any time, effort, and materials that have been utilized to encourage our neighboring communities to support another attempt to expand our landfill, if we decide to go forward, comes at a cost to the city that could better be spent managing the landfill as it moves towards an orderly closure. Personally, I think it's well past time for council to follow the example of Hernan Cortes and burn the ships. By that, I mean the council needs to pass a resolution that would prohibit any city employee, agent, or representative from taking any steps in support of the expansion of the landfill, helping us to focus on the task at hand. And finally, if someone can tell me where I can get a Stop the Landfill Expansion sign, I'd appreciate it. I threw mine away when I thought we were done with this idea. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Conlon. Anyone else?
My husband can't stand for very long, so he was going to say this. I wrote it down. My name is Judy Corns, and my husband is Douglas Corns. We moved to Riverview over 50 years.
Sorry, ma'am, I wanted to just ask for your address, please.
18345 Mulberry.
Thank you.
He told me to say that, and I forgot.
It's quite all right.
We've lived here now for 50 years, more than 50 years, probably 55. We live on Mulberry Street in Pheasant Run. I'm here today because the tree between the sidewalk and the street has begun to be a danger to us and everyone else that comes around it. The branches are constantly dropping on our roof and our car. A dent was put in my husband's truck and around the yard. We are in our 80s and cannot climb on a ladder to take them off my roof. The roots, the pieces of that tree are falling on our roof all the time. They're still up there if you want to check. The roots from the tree have raised 5 slabs of sidewalk. Over the years, they have been fixed a few times. In fact, I was in on putting new sidewalks in there when I worked for the city. People walk by constantly with dogs and children. It's a nice street to walk down. I did see a little boy on his tricycle fall. Luckily, he wasn't hurt bad, just a little scratches and cried a little. The DPW has an employee who owned his own business, removing trees and trimming. I see he's not here today. They should take advantage of his abilities. Our next door neighbor, John Florick, and my wife, my husband, he was going to read it, and my husband have gone to the DPW and was told the tree is not dead or dying, and they could not remove it. We also went to the city manager's office on a few occasions and was told they would have him call us back. We have not received an answer from them. If you do not remove this tree or make them remove the tree for us, it is really a dangerous tree. It really is. If you do not move this dangerous tree, I would appreciate it if you would have them top all the buildings, the branches at the top, so it will stay off my property. If I keep getting things damaged in my property, there's always the thing I could sue the city. I worked for the city for 30 years. I wouldn't want to do that. So if you can help, please do.
Can I respond?
Councilman Prey?
Hi, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Judith Cordes.
Judith, myself and David Robbins, we'll get with you after the meeting. I'll come over and we'll take care of whatever's on your property that needs to be moved.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Jeff Fleury. I live at 19404 Coachwood Road. And after watching the City of Gibraltar's meeting, council meeting the other day, they had a gentleman there from the Land Preserve giving a presentation as far as drumming up business or support for a new expansion. And I was wondering if that information that was passed out at that meeting was going to be available to the people of Riverview to view. The other thing is, in that meeting, you have to forgive me, I'm not a public speaker, but in that meeting, the gentleman mentioned, one of the questions were asked why it failed the last time, and it was due to the entrance coming in. And this time, the gentleman mentioned that they're going to drive right into the golf course. So where is the entrance going to be, if that could be answered, if it's in that proposal? Could we like to know that? And the other thing is, where's the budget for this? If you guys spent $1.2 million last time on trying to get the expansion through, where's the money coming from the budget this time for the expansion? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sally Sullivan, 14395 Hamilton at Coachwood. Ken, thank you very much. You've said everything I wanted to say, plus more. And I absolutely cannot believe that you go to Gibraltar. He's the same gentleman that took up all that time when we had the commission hearing before, talking about how nice it was to have that turtles were once around. And Gibraltar doesn't even touch Riverview. I can't believe you're trying this again. You've had 2 failed attempts. You've had 4 things you were supposed to accomplish, the city was supposed to accomplish. You didn't even touch one of them and wasted all that money. The proposal you even tried to put through, you looked like jerks. The city really looked like jerks in that proposal they tried to get through. I couldn't believe it. But what's more is, you've got all the environmental dangers of that. Don't tell me you don't with PFAS, because you're just putting in an osmosis system now for it. I talked to Jeff. I talked to a gentleman at the dump itself, and they said, no, there's no chance that you are going to use that to help other cities, but if you expand, you definitely are. I can't believe that you want to go on and keep harming our city, harming the cities next to us, as Trenton, Brownstown, and keep bringing up this issue over and over and over again. We that live in that community, and you might say, yeah, well, you live there, but there's every area in Riverview is almost damaged in one way or another. You have the people that live on the other side of 4th Street from the plants. Basically, that is going to damage everybody in Riverview. I don't know why you cannot get the businesses kind of go out and try and get more business in other ways. To keep bringing this up and then doing it on the secret sideline is just unbelievable. Again, I can't say it as well as Ken did, but I've already been contacted, I'll be honest with you, from people that want to know if we're going to seek legal action. I don't know if that's the answer or not. That's just more money and more trouble. I would think as a community we could resolve it without doing that. But again, the secrecy of it, and that you failed so miserably before, not that I ever want it to happen, but you can't even accomplish recycling. Getting people recycle bins. How do you think you're going to accomplish this? And, but again, I'm concerned about PFAS, I'm concerned about the environment, I'm concerned about the wildlife here, I'm concerned about the people here, I'm concerned about not just our generation, but the future generations. I'm concerned about the way we live here. and it's just not feasible to expand that anymore. It already looks horrible sitting up there. I have people that they go, "What is that up there?" And I said, "Well, it didn't used to be that bad." And I lived here since I was like 12 years old, and I'm almost 70 now. And as we all know, it's been expanded and expanded and expanded again, and it is time for it to stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sutherland.
Hi, my name is Julie Testy. I live at 20200 Coachwood. Kind of piggybacking on what Ken and my friend over there, Sally, said, when it comes to the surrounding communities that were outreached to by Mr., I think it's Fugelman, was Brownstown and Trenton, were their city councils visited with the same presentation that was given to Gibraltar? That's my question to you. They said they've been to surrounding cities, all different councils, but I want to know, did you go to Trenton and did you go to, actually what we'd like to know is all the cities that you went to, because some of us might want to reach out to them. So if we could get that information, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
How y'all doing tonight? Chuck Norton, 14617 Shenandoah Drive. What I'm going to read, because I'm always concerned about my time because I take too long. I think you have the time card, so I'll be watching you. I sent this email to you guys about 10 minutes to 7. So if you have your laptops, my questions are in your email. There are numerous concerns regarding the recent development in our city, and I have several questions based on my experience of once being on council. I was elected in 2019, and at that time, the landfill expansion project was already underway. Following the prior denial from the Facility Inclusion Committee, which had delayed its approval, the council was presented with a motion to purchase several pieces of landfill equipment at the request of the landfill director. Given the uncertainty of the longevity of the landfill, being in the middle of COVID, the motion passed with a 5-2 vote, with Councilwoman O'Neill and myself voting against it. It's important to note that, to my knowledge, there was no prior council approval to utilize escrow funds for this equipment purchase. I'm not certain on that. I have invested over 60 hours, about 2.5 days, reviewing past council meetings all the way back to 2016 to present. During the review, I have not found any documentation indicating that council, past or present, authorized the city manager to withdraw funds, not this current city manager, for the escrow accounts for capital improvements. Additionally, I've been unable to locate any meetings where this council approved city employees visiting 16 surrounding communities to seek support for another landfill expansion. While such discussions might have occurred during closed sessions or one-on-one, there is no record of these being brought back to an open session for a public vote. During the recent public meeting concerning the proposed 2 millage point tax increase, the topic of the landfill expansion was raised. The mayor explicitly stated that this matter was not under consideration at the time, although he did mention the possibility of it being revisited in the future. I have 6 questions. Number 1, what is the date of the meeting where the Riverview City Council approved the city manager to use escrow funds for purchasing machinery and funding the construction of cells 6 and 7? Number 2, what were the balances of all the landfill escrow accounts at the end of the fiscal year of 2016, and what are the current balances? Number 3, at the Gibraltar Council meeting, it was stated that our residents support an expansion. I'm a resident. Nobody contacted me on this. When was this decision made, and how was the taxpayer support determined. The support from the Cobalt survey that we sent out a couple years ago does not pertain to this particular expansion. When Mr. Kugelman went to Gibraltar, I watched it, the council, their meeting. Are we talking about the 3-hole practice course area? Number 4, are there any additional approvals required by the state or the county to increase the height of the landfill footprint by expanding the 3-hole practice facility? Number 5, what are the estimated costs for relocating the driving range? Number 6, what are the estimated costs for uncapping the mentioned area? Should the council decide to proceed with an attempt to expand the landfill, I propose that this issue be placed on the ballot for the residents to vote. If this route is chosen, I request that the council provide detailed information to taxpayers, including construction costs for preparing this section of waste disposal and the financing plan for this project. I want to close with this. The 5 council people that are here, I know your character. I know that you guys are not doing anything shady behind the scenes, but it's very important that you and us taxpayers are all transparent so we know what your thought process is. Okay? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Norton.
Good evening. Darren Sinsat, 17820 Brinson Street. The Groseal Bridge, how much revenue do we get from taxes off of that? Because we could be losing that. There is talk, and I talked to a businessman from Groseal, well-known person, and he shared his interest with me, is that non-disclosures are stopping the residents from knowing how much money they're going to get and how much are the costs. Too much secrecy. We've had these talks before, and I sound like there's others that are saying the same thing. Groseal's in a pickle right now, because now it's going to cost each resident somewhere in the vicinity of $800 to $1,000 a year more in taxes if Groseal buys the bridge. And then they'll still, as a resident, they're still going to have to pay to cross, which I think is, that's just a ripoff to them. But my concern is, if the Maroon family buys the bridge and they tear it down, because waterways have jurisdiction above anything else, they can remove that bridge and bring in a landfill right where DTE is in the quarry. Because the quarry is registered as a landfill. But that's not my concern there. My concern is, how much revenue does Riverview get in taxes off of that? Because you're looking at something we could be losing if Groseal doesn't buy that bridge. And it's up in the air for them. That's more my concern right now, is that we need them to be able to buy that bridge so that they don't tear down the bridge. And then you're going to have free access to waterways, because waterways have more jurisdiction than public interest to cross. And if you don't believe me, go check it. It's true. But really, I would like to know the numbers on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sinsat. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name's Kathy Lambert. I live at 17079 Grange Road. We've lived here for 10 years. Our children have attended school here for over 25 years. We have never had a problem in Riverview. other than my son ringing a doorbell in high school. And that was it. That was the only time. Ding dong ditch. That was the only, and he's a fireman now, so he's grown up. But anyway, we never had a problem. My husband has pastored over 30 years for the Assemblies of God. My father-in-law over 50 years for the Assemblies of God. We've always tried to get along with everybody. I grew up in Southwest Detroit, and as a kid, you'd argue, you'd fight, you'd make up, you'd fight, but you'd never hold a grudge. I have never had a neighbor like I have in my life that is so mean and so miserable. This lady, we have been tormented, my 3 children. I have one going for chiropractor, one paramedic going for cardiologist, and one who is a fireman, that can all stand up and say, through their childhood, this woman tormented them at the bus stop, getting on the bus. And every time I would try to do something in my yard, she would call the building department. And Jen and I was friends before she even married her current husband. And she would call me and laugh, hey, your buddy called again, your buddy called on you, and blow it off. We never had a problem until she ran for council last year. And when we stood up for ourselves and tried to defend ourselves because we were tired, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying anything about you guys, but something switched when she ran for that ballot for council. It was like it was on then. When she picked the phone up and she called the building department, I had Barney Fife at my house every other day, and I'm being facetious about it, being smart, writing us up on everything. And I said, listen, well, you're here. I want you to come in the back and look at this barn back here over 50 years old. And when I did that, ordinance told me, if you make me go back there, we're going to find something to write you up on. I got a letter from the chief police that I filed a formal complaint against 2 officers over their conduct, and I think, my boys, like I said, are first responders, and they said, Mom, we were trained not to go to anybody's home and not to act like this. And they backed me on this when I filed this complaint. But, when we tried to stand up for ourselves and say, what about the next door neighbor? We pay over $7,000 in taxes. We have another house across the street, a $600,000 home. We have one on the other side of her $600,000. We have grass up to here in the field by the schoolyard. We never say nothing to nobody. We never say anything to anybody. But when I told them, come back here and look at her barn now because I'm getting tickets left and right, we're just like being crucified. And I lost track of what I was saying. The chief sent me a letter in the mail. We just got home. We'd been on vacation, and I came home last night, and I opened it up, and the chief from the police department showed me a whole page since last year of ordinance violations that we have had, and never had one for 10 years that we lived in the house. And we haven't done anything wrong. We are being totally harassed. This lady next door goes to our mailbox. She goes in my mail. Allstate wrote a letter in my behalf saying she was in their lobby with my mail open going through my mail. But when we asked her last October, please take your mailbox off of our stand so that we can fix the rotted wood and put it on the other side of our driveway since you like going through our mail, she wouldn't do it in October. I went into the police department. I took my son that's a fireman. He said, listen, if she comes in here, we will tell her what to do. I'm going to make it quick. So in December 12th, we had the mailbox removed. Piece of wood. My husband cut the wood, set hers down. A week later, we were told by Elizabeth DeSanto to put it back on the stand. We put it back on the stand. We're in mediation for 5 hours with taxpayers' money. We've been in court 6 times. We are starting to pick, what do you call that, jury? My husband's going to trial over 6 screws in a mailbox.
Ms. Lambert, your time's up.
Pardon?
Your 5 minutes is up.
Okay, but I would just like to know why we have to go to trial over a mailbox and we haven't even, this is crazy, and the taxpayers are paying for the city attorney to represent her. That's what I wanted to get out.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I see none. 8, organizational business. Tonight, we do not have any organizational business. 9, consent agenda. Is there any items that council wants removed from the consent agenda? I hear none. 9.1, authorize to prepare bid documents for North Slope Soil Recovery Project at the Land Preserve. The community impact and background is this project will provide approximately 300,000 cubic yards of soil for the site and create over a year of operating space. This airspace is included in our total years of life, meaning that if not reclaimed, the land preserve's life will be shortened. There will be an additional option included in the bid for a cost to place a final cap on the south side of the land preserve with the soil recovered. This was approved by the Land Preserve Committee in their August 12th meeting. So what's council's wishes?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Councilwoman Ganaga, supported by Councilman Prey. Roll call, please.
Councilman Perret.
Yes.
Council Member Robbins.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Webb.
Yes.
Council Member Ganaga.
Yes.
Council Member O'Neill.
Yes.
10, resolutions. 10.1, adopt the local governing body resolution for charitable gaming license that states the Riverview Junior Football Association is recognized a nonprofit organization. The background is the Riverview Community Football Association, also known as RJFA, is working to obtain a charitable gaming license with the state of Michigan. One of the requirements is to obtain a resolution passed by a local body of government stating the organization is recognized as a nonprofit organization in the community. City Council is requested to adopt the resolution stating that the RJFA is recognized as a nonprofit organization within the community. What's the council's wishes?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Councilwoman O'Neill, supported by Councilman Prey. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Council Member Robbins.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Webb.
Yes.
Council Member Ganaga.
Yes.
Council Member O'Neill.
Yes.
Council Member Perret.
Yes.
Resolution passes. 11.1, administration. Award a cooperative bid purchase of one 2024 Ford F-350 4x4 small dump truck to Gorno Ford in the amount of $90,000 for the Department of Public Works. The background, the City of Riverview Purchasing Manual Section 10.2A authorizes the city's participation in the cooperative purchases to take advantage of volume buying. The state of Michigan, through its MI Deal program, formerly known as Extended Purchasing, has awarded a contract for the purchase of vehicles to Gorno Ford of Woodhaven, Michigan. The DPW director is requesting under MI Deal contract a 4x4 small dump truck in the total amount of $90,000. This new vehicle will be assigned to the DPW, and the 2002 small dump truck at the golf course will be sold, and a 2008 small dump truck will be transferred from the DPW to the golf course in accordance with the Vehicle Transfer Policy and Administrative Regulation 23 Fleet Management. Funds have been budgeted for the purchase and replacement of the vehicle. The action request is for City Council to consider approving a bid award to Gorno Ford for the purchase of the one F-350 4x4 small dump truck in the amount of $90,000. What's the council's wishes?
So move.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Robbins, supported by Councilwoman O'Neill. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Webb.
Yes.
Council Member Ganaga.
Yes.
Council Member O'Neill.
Yes.
Council Member Perret.
Yes.
Council Member Robbins.
Yes.
12.1, ordinances. Authorize first reading by title only of proposed ordinance number 746 to amend the Code of Ordinances for the City of Riverview by the repeal and readoption of Article 19, cannabis businesses, to amend the hours of operation and the definition of schools to include preschool facilities and licensed child care organizations as defined in the city's zoning ordinance by the city attorney. The impact is at the council study session August 12th, 2024, the council requested the city attorney to draft proposed amendment to the existing marijuana business ordinance as follows. Amendment 1, amend the hours of cannabis business operation from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. to instead 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 2, address the inclusion of daycare and nursery school facilities into the definition of schools. 3, any other amendments suggested by the Community Development Director and City Clerk. The attached ordinance accomplishes items 1 and 2 above. No other revisions were recommended. The community impact resulting from these amendment is expected to be minimal. The action is requested for us to authorize the first reading by title only of the proposed ordinance number 746. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Councilmember Ganaga, supported by Councilman Prey. Roll call, any discussion?
We have, yeah.
Do we-
read that after the vote or before the vote?
Do the vote, and then I'll...
And then you read it if it passes. Okay. Roll call then.
Councilmember Ganad.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilmember Perrin.
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Webb.
Yes.
Okay.
All right,
Motion
thank you.
passes.
This is the first reading by title only of proposed ordinance number 746 to amend the Code of Ordinances for the City of Riverview by the repeal and readoption of Article 14, Cannabis Businesses, to amend the hours of operation and the definition of schools to include preschool facilities and licensed child care organizations as defined in the city's zoning ordinance. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now is the time for other business from council. Is there anything from anyone?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Councilman Prey?
I'd like to make a motion to vote on resolution. I apologize, there is no number on this yet. Our city clerk is away. This will have a motion. It is a resolution to direct the EPA to engage an independent third party to conduct testing at the Arkema West property. We can have a discussion and then move for a vote.
Okay, discussion?
Just background for those in attendance and for those that are in the Arkema committee. The city of Riverview sent a letter to the EPA requesting that they do independent testing of the West Brinefield. It's been a long day. Consequently, the EPA decided to refuse that testing. This resolution has already been delivered to Debbie Dingle, as well as the EPA at Debbie Dingle's town hall. Upon delivering, Debbie Dingle and Scott Ireland from the EPA walked up and said they're willing to do whatever testing we have asked. However, I do believe we should go ahead and pass this resolution unanimously to ensure that the testing is done. So that's all I have.
The motion's been made. Do we have support? Support by Councilwoman Ganaga.
Wait, 1 second. Who made the motion?
Councilman Prey.
Okay.
And supported by Councilwoman
Sorry, I'm just
Ganaga.
not
No, it's
fast. I
okay.
got to write this in. 'cause
I
this
know
is
we're
not in
shorthanded
my-
today. All right, so
Do my
we're
best.
ready for a roll call whenever you're ready.
Okay, just wait 1 second.
Mhm.
Let me see. Okay, I got this right now. Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes.
Councilmember Perret.
Yes.
Councilmember Robbins.
Yes.
Pro Tem Mayor Webb.
Yes.
And Councilmember Ganaga.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passed. Yep.
Okay.
Is there any other
Just,
business?
yeah, I got to read this, don't I?
Oh, please go ahead.
This motion was for a resolution to direct the EPA to engage an independent third party to conduct testing at the Arkema West property.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem and Council, I'll take on the question right now about exactly how did we get to these communities and why we spoke to them about our future in closing. As you all know, all of our contracts with our communities expired through March. And as we sat down and was working the contracts, Mr. Kugelman working contracts with these communities, their DPW director and their people in charge of garbage asked for a long-term contract. With only up to 7, maybe 8 years of capacity left, we weren't eligible to talk about a long-term contract. So they were quite surprised when we only offered them a 3-year contract. And they said, well, what happens after that? And we said, well, if we're still open, we'll negotiate another contract. And they asked, well, what happens if you close? Well, of course, if we close, they'll have to take it somewhere else. They asked, what's the ramification of you closing? They said, well, historically, knowing different cities, their rates are going to increase. And we did a schedule based on miles to the nearest landfill. And the costs are broken down between not just the dumping or the tipping fees, but transportation of the truck, what companies are charging per mile, what they're charging for extra time to get to a big landfill and wait in line. Some of those costs are from $200,000 a year to over $1 million. And when some of these communities heard that and said, we're not budgeted for that, could you please come and explain that to council? Hence, that's how we got to some of these councils. To the best of my knowledge, we've been to, Kevin, 2 or 3 councils. That's it. The rest of them are working on sharing their information with their councils. Is there a valid application that we have filed with the county to expand? No, we have not. There's no one up here that filed an application to expand at this time. It's purely information sharing, and these communities are worried because they know that their citizens' taxes are going to go up. If it goes up $1 million a year, they're going to be paying many mills for their garbage. So they're concerned. We are a downriver resource, and it does affect the 16 communities that we have contracts with. But so be it. When we close, and it's their job to figure out how they're going to pay for their trash, wherever it's got to go. We were just purely listening to our communities. We owe it to them. They've been customers for over 20 years, 25 years. They need to know. That's all we're doing is sharing information. And that's my answer to how did we get to communities. Have we got more on the books? I don't know. I don't know what other communities asked us to share that with their leadership.
Comments from any other of the councils? I just wanted to thank everybody that came out and made their statements and asked the questions. I will say clearly that council has not made a decision to try again for an expansion. As City Manager Dobek just mentioned, there's no application that's been filed. And the final statement I'll make is whether or not the city decides to go for another expansion, should we get to that point, and as you're all aware, we're considering all options, right? You know the dire situation we're in with that funds that we needed from the landfill that were going to the general fund. And so we are considering all options, and there's other options besides the landfill expansion that you may have heard being discussed. So the final statement would be whether or not the city decides to go for another expansion will be decided by a vote of the residents. Okay. And then I can mention Mr. Sunset's statement is that DT can only accept coal ash and the demolition from their coal plants that have been decommissioned. They won't be able to accept, other hazardous materials or residential waste. Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilman Prey.
I apologize. Just because you brought that up, to Mr. Sunset's comment, for those of you that didn't attend, I know Mr. Kalman did, Debbie Dingell's town hall, that very issue was brought up on whether they could use that as the landfill. That is a different type of landfill. They cannot use it for anything other than that kind of waste. And I just want to reiterate what Jeff and Brian just said. Nothing is being done in secret. We are exploring every option we possibly can to keep this city going without an emergency manager, trying to figure out what the best way possible is. However, as Jeff said, no application has been filed. Nothing has been filed. If, God forbid if we have to decide on what the future is, if it includes a landfill expansion, it would go to the residents' vote. That is nothing new. This is something that we discussed, I think, on my first week in council. That if we were to go for a landfill, and that was back in November, if we were ever going to the landfill expansion, it would go to the residents. So, that's it.
Your Honor.
Councilwoman Ganaga.
I would just like to reiterate that there is nothing sneaky, there's nothing behind the scenes. Our people are literally just letting their contracts know, hey, we may only be open for so much longer. Start looking, keep your options open. Sorry, we are not going to be a long-term offer for you. So, no, there are no backroom dealings, there's nothing going on. They're just letting their customers know that they're going out of business, or they might not be, we don't know. So we're giving them the information that we have. So we are asking them if they do support it this time. If we were to go for one, they could ask. So if they can do that, they can. While they're giving their clients their information, they can ask them to support us. It helps their residents if they stay with us. So that's all there is. Nothing has been voted on, and there is no application filed.
And one other thing, I know Mr. Sunset asked about taxes on the bridge. And do we know what we get from taxes on the bridge right now currently?
I think it just I think it was 15,000 personal and 15,000 real, so it's only like $30,000. Not to the penny, but that's what we looked into.
I don't know that number, Mr. Sunset. I just relied on Ann. She, of course, compiles the tax roll, so.
Okay, anything else from council? All right. We have no, sorry? Maybe we have something?
I think I'm done, but I'm not done.
Take your time, Joe.
Now it's adjournment, so you got to call for a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, so we do not have any closed sessions tonight. I'll
Nope.
look for a motion to adjourn.
Yep, my bad.
That's your oldest council member, which would be me.
Okay.
So moved.
Support.
Okay. so
Motion
we'll-
by O'Neill, Councilwoman
Yep,
O'Neill,
okay,
and support
I'll
by
read that.
Councilman Prey.
Okay. And now, we got to go to the next over, so it's Councilmember Perret.
Yes.
Okay. Councilman Robbins.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Webb.
Yes.
Councilmember Ganaga.
Yes.
And Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes.
Okay.
Let the record show that council adjourned at 7:53 PM.